In the quiet village of Blackthorn Hollow in northern England, everyone knew a man named William Whiteley. He was a schoolteacher in his late 40s, polite, calm, and always dressed in the same gray coat. Every morning at exactly 7:15, he walked through the village square carrying a leather briefcase. Every evening at 6 p.m., he returned home alone. People trusted him, children respected him, and nobody suspected him. But on the cold morning of November 14, 1987, William Whiteley failed to appear. At first, nobody thought much about it. The school assumed he was sick. By evening, however, concern spread through the village. Whiteley lived alone and no one had seen him all day. The local police entered his cottage just before midnight. Inside, they found something strange. The fireplace was still burning. A half-eaten dinner sat on the table. His shoes remained beside the front door. But William Whiteley was gone. There were no signs of forced entry, no blood, no struggle, nothing, except one disturbing detail. Pinned to the kitchen wall was a note written in red ink. "I finally saw what was buried beneath the floorboards." The police immediately searched the cottage expecting to uncover a body. Instead, beneath the old wooden floorboards, they found dozens of newspaper clippings, dating back nearly 20 years. And every missing person had one thing in common. They had all once been students of William Whiteley. The discovery shocked Blackthorn Hollow. Parents who once praised Whiteley now feared him. Detective Arthur Bennett took charge of the investigation. He carefully reviewed the old missing person cases and noticed something unsettling. The students had disappeared one by one over 2 decades. None of the disappearances had seemed connected at the time. One child vanished while walking home from school. Another disappeared during a camping trip. A third was believed to have drowned in the river. The cases were scattered across years, making the pattern almost impossible to notice, until now. But the deeper Bennett looked, the stranger the story became. William Whiteley had personally helped search for every missing child. He attended funerals, comforted grieving families, even organized community search parties. To the village, he looked like a caring teacher trying to help. But Bennett noticed something else. Each missing student had recently written essays about strange sounds coming from the woods near Whiteley's cottage. One child described hearing metal doors closing underground. Another wrote about lights beneath the trees. At first, Bennett believed Whiteley may have kidnapped the children and hidden them somewhere in the forest. Then the police discovered a hidden tunnel beneath the cottage cellar. The tunnel stretched deep underground. The walls were rusted pipes and electrical wires. At the very end stood a heavy steel door. When officers forced it open, they expected horror. Instead, they found an abandoned underground classroom. Dust covered old desks, children's drawings still hung on the walls, and written across the chalkboard were the words, "They were never supposed to leave." Detective Bennett suddenly realized something terrifying. This wasn't a prison. It was a place where someone had tried to keep children hidden for years. But why? And where were they now? Inside the underground classroom, police discovered an old cassette recorder. The tape inside was badly damaged, but technicians managed to restore parts of the audio. The recording began with William Whiteley's voice, calm, nervous, almost frightened. If anyone finds this, you must understand, I was trying to protect them." The tape continued with strange claims. Whiteley said children in Blackthorn Hollow had been disappearing long before he became a teacher. According to him, several children vanished during the 1950s, but local officials covered it up to avoid panic. Whiteley believed something dangerous existed beneath the village, something hidden in abandoned mining tunnels underground. Detective Bennett dismissed the story as madness until another voice appeared on the tape, a child's voice, weak and trembling. "Sir, they're coming back tonight." Then the tape suddenly cut off. That same evening, Bennett visited the abandoned mines outside the village. Old maps showed tunnels running directly beneath Blackthorn Hollow. As officers searched the tunnels, they uncovered a hidden chamber filled with personal belongings: shoes, toys, school bags, and dozens of photographs. The photographs froze everyone in fear. They showed missing children standing beside William Whiteley, but the children were smiling. Some photos appeared recent, far too recent. One photograph included a girl who had supposedly disappeared 15 years earlier, yet she looked exactly the same age, no older, no younger, almost as if no time had passed. Then Bennett noticed something even worse. In the corner of one photo stood another figure, a tall man wearing a dark miner's uniform. His face had been scratched out completely. Written behind the photograph were 4 chilling words: "He chooses the lonely ones." Rumors exploded across the village. Some believed Whiteley was a murderer. Others believed he was insane. But Detective Bennett no longer knew what to believe. The investigation took a darker turn when elderly villagers finally admitted something they had hidden for decades. In 1952, a mining collapse trapped several workers underground. Only one miner survived, a man named Elias Grieve. But when rescuers found him days later, he was sitting alone in darkness, whispering the names of missing children. Grieve later disappeared from a hospital without explanation. No one saw him again. Until now. Bennett compared an old hospital photograph of Elias Grieve to the faceless figure in the pictures. The height matched, the uniform matched, and stitched onto the miner's jacket was the name E. Grieve. Suddenly, Bennett believed William Whiteley may not have been the villain. He may have been hunting someone else. That night, police returned to the underground tunnels. Deep inside the mines, they discovered fresh footprints in the dust. Someone had been living there recently. Then officers heard laughter echoing through the darkness. Childlike laughter. One officer vanished moments later. The search team panicked. Lights flickered. Radios stopped working. And from somewhere deep underground came a slow, dragging sound. Detective Bennett followed it alone. At the end of the tunnel, he found a hidden room lit by old lanterns. Inside sat William Whiteley, alive, thin and exhausted. And surrounding him were 7 missing children. None of them had aged, not even slightly. Whiteley looked up at Bennett with terrified eyes. Then he whispered, "You shouldn't have come here. He knows you saw him." Before Bennett could speak, the lanterns suddenly went out, and in the darkness, someone else entered the room.
The surviving officers later gave conflicting stories about what happened underground that night. Some claimed they heard screaming. Others said they saw a tall figure moving through the tunnels unnaturally fast. Detective Bennett was found unconscious near the mine entrance hours later, but William Whiteley and the children were gone, vanished without a trace. The tunnels were searched for weeks. Nothing was found. No bodies, no evidence, no footprints. It was as though the earth itself had swallowed them. Detective Bennett resigned from the police force shortly afterward. He refused interviews and rarely spoke about the case again. But years later, a journalist visited him seeking answers. Bennett appeared older, nervous, and deeply afraid. He finally revealed one final secret. The children discovered underground were officially declared missing decades earlier, but according to medical examinations conducted that night, they were all alive, healthy, and impossible to explain. Their fingerprints matched the original missing children perfectly, yet none of them remembered growing older. The journalist asked Bennett the question everyone wanted answered. Who was Elias Grieve? Bennett remained silent for several seconds before replying quietly, "I don't think Elias Grieve was ever trying to hide underground." The journalist frowned. "What do you mean?" Bennett stared toward the window. Outside, snow slowly covered the empty streets of Blackthorn Hollow. Then he whispered, "I think he was hiding from whatever lived deeper below." 3 days after the interview, Detective Arthur Bennett disappeared. His house was found empty. On the dining table rested a single photograph. It showed Bennett standing inside the mine tunnels. Behind him, barely visible in the darkness, stood a tall figure wearing a miner's uniform. Its face had been scratched away. If you enjoyed uncovering the dark mystery of William Whiteley, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more chilling true crime stories every week.